Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Now I want to cover again the very important subject of analog versus digital. Now, while I'm not in favor of most older things, good tech for the appropriate energy you're dealing with is essential. And I, being the expert in the world for over 40 years now, I'm an author of over 35 books, 5 courses. I've manufactured, I have engineered, and have been selling, and have the only radionic store ever in the history of this planet. You have not heard of me, of course, is the fact that you probably have not been in touch very well. And of course, you're listening to this because of the fact that you have been directed to come here. Now, I am the expert in the field. No one else even comes close. And what we have on the market today, when we get into these consciousness machines, and they are consciousness machines, is really horrible. And you're really being horribly misled by a bunch of frauds that are out there. And it's unfortunate, but it's a fact. I have stressed, of course, the use of Polaroid cameras, very essential to grab energy and use it when you can use Polaroids. And you can't use Polaroids in many instances because you can't get the pictures. But it's something you need to convert over to. Cameras can be obtained very inexpensively on eBay. You can get used ones. You can get the sharper image Polaroid camera, which was something that wasn't marketed well. So a lot of those are still around. For $20, $30, you can get a brand new one. Very, very important because that's the only energy that you can that is real, that grabs the energy, it picks the energy up, puts it into the film, and then you have it there. So if you can do that of anything, it doesn't have to be of a person, but if you're working on yourself and using these consciousness machines, these scalar machines, you need that. It's a small investment. The cameras are relatively inexpensive. The film can be expensive, but you don't need to use that much of it. You should change your Polaroid film pictures. I've moved it up to about every 6 months to 8 months, so it's not a problem, and they still work pretty good. But you should change them because your energy is going to be changed in 6 to 8 months if you're doing things. Now, one of the big problems out there is this issue of basically analog and digital. Now, digital is a particular type of energy field. And this is something that for what we're working with, and of course, you got to remember, I'm the only person that understands all this stuff and the only person ever to do research. When people state other people or you state your own opinion, you are not trained. If you want to learn about this, make sure that you go to, which I'll leave a link down below. You can go to the Great Path course, which gives you a great deal of information on what all these energies are, how to use them, etc. And this is building. And I will be coming out with a whole series of books that will explain all this. So going by other people's old opinions, people who are not in this field, have not been it, they're just general bogus scientists, well, that's not good enough. These people don't know what they're doing. So to reference other people other than myself shows that you are not in touch with this, and you certainly can be, and you need to support this organization. You should like and subscribe to this channel. Do it right now. And of course, it's a good idea to be a member of Patreon. Of course, if you're not taking the Great Path course, you've missed the boat. All old junk teachings or listening to non-professionals in this area is going to make you fail. So don't believe in other people's descriptions of these things. I don't care who they are. It's all nonsense. You have to go to someone who knows and who is the expert in the field, and it's as simple as that. And that is me. There is no one else in this field. No one else has any idea what they're doing. And they are people of dubious reputations, etc. You've got some really misguided people in this. So analog is very important. Now, what do we know by analog in terms of that? Everyone knows it. To give a good comparison is the actual use of musical amplifiers, etc. How do you amplify something that really isn't traditionally digital, and that is music. Music, when you have an electric guitar or just a guitar, whatever it is, anything musical has a very unique resonance to it. It has a very much of an analog signal. And the only way to amplify those things, to make them sound richer and better, and again, this has been proven. Some people spend $6,000 to $10,000 to get very expensive tube amplifications so that their music sounds better. Definitely anybody who's in the music business, rock groups, people that give concerts, are all using amplifiers that have tube resonance in them. This produces a very unique energy form. And when it comes to using these things in the proper way to amplify your scalar energies, these non-electromagnetic energy fields, the only way to amplify these kind of fields, which you could call radionic, scalar, etc. fields, is to amplify them with tube amplifiers, which I have in almost all of my equipment, and almost every component I use, if it's available, I use some sort of tube based. I also then transmute those electronics so that not only are you getting the common effect by having tubes, but that isn't enough. You've got to transmute or change the internal flow of the energy in that machine by using one of our amazing discs that you just slide under the machine. We also have a new transmutation device, which is a USB, which has special information in it of a very unique fashion. And of course, it has a tube connected to it. What a cool and amazing things that you get only from here, only from Dr. Thor, who's the only expert in this field out there. Our new tools are coming out very soon, and we will be releasing all sorts of actual research that's being done with this, and we're going to so people understand what's going on. We'll also be describing basically how it works, but you got to remember, most of what I do is all only known to me and something that only can be done by me. We are using certain components that are commercially available, and of course, these we've spent tens of thousands of dollars on actually finding the best ones, figuring out how to transmute them, and of course coming up with a very complicated way of doing that. This is very, very high tech using things. We don't use wires. Wires are electromagnetic. We're not dealing with the electromagnetic. And what's very interesting now is that this kind of consciousness machines, and that's what they are, using consciousness, which is a high level of energies that are produced through the human consciousness, etc. So consciousness energies are a combination of psychic energies, quote, soul force energies, and other things. So psychic is just one part of your biofunctioning. There is that actually soul force, which is this energy that comes from chakras and the way you think and everything else. So it's very high form. So to call it just psychic energy or even intention energy, which is what most radionics machines are, they're intention machines. You put an intent in them, and that intent is then you focused it on a particular person, place, or thing, and that intent is then sent there psychically. Now, this can be surprisingly powerful, but you're limiting yourself if you're not using the amazing tools we have today, the high-level electronics that are available to the average person now, that are extremely reasonably priced. Good technologies used to be thousands and thousands of dollars, and you can still spend $6,000, $7,000 on what is considered one of the better tube amplifiers out there. It's not needed. What we get now and how we repurpose it and change the electrical flow inside at what you could call a subatomic level, we actually kind of remake the machine in an energetic fashion. And by remaking that machine, it grabs the energies we put in it. And we've eliminated all the silly stuff like dialing and everything else. We now have energy discs. There's a whole way this is going. And what is that? Now, so the whole idea is when you get into these different fields which are unique, what is the main reality is that you have to stay away from anything digital. Digital takes these kind of energies and it distorts them. And basically a digital energy a digital field kind of looks like a stairway. Now, this is good for lots of things. It is not good for consciousness projection and for combining scalar waves onto it. So what really happens, and an analog signal kind of looks like this. It's one signal, one unbroken line, which is a little bit wavy, yet you are taking the entire field there, which for purposes of music or pictures tends to be, doesn't give you the same clarity. It does pick up a whole bunch of energies, and these are energies machines, and we're picking up energy. So when you use an analog signal like this, whether you're using it through a actual scalar energy machine, you're getting that whole beautiful whole field, which is what you require. When you use a digital signal, you're getting, it's not necessarily broken up, but they're doing this so they can control it more. Now, as I said, that's really good if you want a very clear picture. If you want photographs that look really clear, they do not. This is not a good energy field. What you're doing when this happens is you're kind of bending the energy field. Now, when we put in a scalar field, when you have a scalar field coming in here, because we use these as piggybacks. So when we come in with our scalar field tends to go right along with this, and you can use it as a piggyback and an amplification of it very easily. When you put a scalar field through these, you're kind of breaking it up. You're doing this. This isn't good. You lose a lot of energy, and most of the time you lose all the energy. Now, what we're trying to do is to get past the actual pure psychic empowerments. And of course, that's what you get in most these when you're doing practices that are not amplified. So if you use a photograph from somebody else, that's a printed out photograph, or a regular photograph, 35 millimeter processed, or even printing it out yourself, what you're doing is that there's no energy there. So you're not getting anything from it. What happens as soon as you start using it and holding a pendulum over it, there's nothing to detect there. You have now went to the target and you're psychically analyzing them for wherever you are. You've switched entirely into the psychic. Well, that's ridiculous. We want to make sure that we, if we can, which we're doing, why would you want to do that? Because that is something that, of course, you're dependent on yourself, your emotions, how you're in tune. So you fall into the psychic, and that means you're going to be making a lot of errors. You're also not going to be able to get the correct information often, because it's difficult to tap into people psychically alone. This is all part of the reality of using technologies right. And again, this is all in my Great Path course. I've outlined this stuff. I have worked with these energies for over 40 years. I had my own institute, my own retail store. And the whole idea is that you have to talk to people that know. And I'm the only one in this field that knows. Now, it's just a statement of fact. And if you think you know something, or if you think there's someone better, well, jog on and go to them. And good luck, because you will fail. Use other people's technologies, use other people's information, you are going to lose. So the whole idea is the analog and the digital are very important. Now, there's also in the music, again, this is a real energy. You can't say this is psychic, which is a little bit hard to measure, etc. In the real world, we're dealing with real world energies that are not traditional and not necessarily and where digital doesn't do that much for it. In the music world, as I said, everyone is doing that. The use of tubes in particular is becoming the norm now. Everybody is converting over to tubes. Watch for my new videos on that. There's new technologies. There's new tubes coming out. The Japanese have developed new tubes. Now, they've always had a tiny little, I don't know if you call it a processor, which had a tiny little tube in it. So the whole idea is that this is nothing new. This has been around for a long time, and the reason why some music equipment sounds so much better than others. Most likely they got that tube in it. But tubes can transfer huge amounts of information. That's another thing. This signal here, your analog signal, is loaded with much more energy than you can put. Now, digitals, they're loading a little, they're loading here, loading there. You're getting that typical digital way of putting things, which is carrying information in a very particular way, but it's manipulating it. And as such, it's distorting it in its own way. This is non-distorted. This is what you have to do. And the actual scalar energy, these biophysical energies that we're talking about, which is a consciousness psychic energy, blended in with created scalar waves like the discs that I use. Here's a disc. Now, these discs have a whole bunch of energies. This pattern here is energy. You've got 3 different number sequences that represent an energy field. And you have in the back of this, of course, you have special tones and other things to do. So it's a very complicated process that, as usual, if you're a master, you're able to take the complicated and make it simplistic. As simple as that. So that's the reality of what's going on there. So, and that's why it's so important to do that. And as I said, people who can feel that, and of course, you can tell with the sound of music, and people who are really into music and want that pure sound, well, of course, they're going to be using these tube amplifiers. There are tubes by themselves that can cost $3,000 or $4,000, even without the hardware to go with it. I mean, these are very specialized, and the people who really want the best do that. And as I said, you'll find this for any serious musician, a serious person listening to music, and of course, serious people playing music. Regular amplifiers basically screen out a lot of good tones. And what we're looking here is the good tones of your consciousness power. When you're projecting these energy fields in there, which are huge, you need to have that. The other thing is, of course, as I said, digital distorts things. So the revolution of the tube, better made tubes, powerful tubes that can carry huge amounts of informational energetic field. And that's what this is. This is an information, and it's only slightly distorted. This has highly been distorted, so the signal itself can be manipulated. You do not want that. So it's pretty much fact out there, except for those that don't know anything about it. And that's, of course, the only person who really has any kind of tech, who's been using lasers for 40 years. I now use as many tubes as possible for all of my components. And we've been doing this for many years now. And of course, now that technology has kind of caught up with us in terms of the cost-effective technology, everybody can now benefit. Our new Dragon Force unit will be out soon, and this is going to be a large, powerful unit that really can break through the very difficult times we're in. Because we are in very difficult times. And if you're not using tubes, if you're not using lasers like you see here, and you're not using tubes like this, and of course, there are many of these out there in terms of all of our components. If we can use tubes in them, we do. And of course, as I said, the rest of the world is doing the same now. They are actually, there's going to be tube revolution coming, and new tube designs are being built, especially by the Japanese who have built them before. But what we have now at a very low cost is electronics that can be repurposed. And of course, we have these new USB, which are loaded with special information. We charge into the actual tube here. We put special transmutation energies that are brought into the unit. And of course, there are certain specialized programs on the USB. And these, of course, can go in many units. A lot of our units, most of our units, have USBs in them. Here is a transmitter, and it has the USB. On the back of this, which is still a great little amplifier for the money, there's a USB. Also, all of these units have what are considered actual optic ports. We're going to be feeding energy directly into it through the optics. Now, this is very high-level professional stuff. This is what people would do if they had any background. But if you knew your energy flows and you knew your electronics, everybody would see something like this and marvel at it, which they should. But people don't do that. But here's a USB right here. And of course, you can use this to transmute from the inside out. And that's the beauty of this. We use discs to transmit from the outside in, and of course then we have it. Now this isn't plugged in. so it's not lighting up. But the point is that using these two methods this is futuristic. This is real high tech, people. And all of this is only done by myself and my understanding of this technology. So you got to remember, there is no one else that has this understanding or anything else. To mention people and their basic opinions of what's going on, of their understanding of the universe, shows a person who's not thinking very well. If you want to understand how this technology works and what is the reality of it, you're only going to get it here. The rest of your thinking, giving credit to other people for any of this stuff, you're missing the boat, baby. Well, a lot of other people aren't, and they're going to be out there empowered. They're going to be doing their thing, and you're going to be back shoveling, using a shovel when you should be using more sophisticated equipment. None of the equipment is very expensive. Invest in your life. Times are coming that are going to be tougher and tougher. It's just starting, people. Those with the proper manifestation technologies are going to be those who survive and prosper. And you're going to fall beyond the wayside. And if you're silly enough, and of course, you know, this whole industry has been taken over to make sure that people don't progress. They put in a bunch of frauds to sell you stuff because that's exactly what they want. Do keep that in mind, people, because that's the reality of what's going on. And you have a chance to bridge that. And we keep training people and telling you about this. So our units, our manifesting machines, our advanced unit, the Dragon Force, has a particular component on it that changes anything that's digital into analog. This is something, of course, that the music files have been doing for years. They don't want that digital. They want to change it into an analog signal so they can get that very rich sound. Now, you probably don't understand that. I hope you do. And those who are smart and listen to what I'm telling you, this is going to empower your life beyond your understanding. This technology can basically do almost anything. It's relatively new now because these components that have all these features on them have only really been around for the last 6 to 8 months. And through that period, we have been researching what are the best and, of course, modifying them and transmuting them. So this is relatively new, but a lot's going to come out. I think that anything can be done with this technology, particularly in the energetic realm. And most everything is energy. Now, if that translated into your pea brain to think that this is a magic lamp, that things are going to pop up in front of you, well, then, of course, you're thinking stupid. People that want something for nothing, that think they can have this kind of basically comic book power, you're not thinking properly. This will enhance anybody's life and bring them up to a next higher level in any area of their life they want. Now, what it does for you personally and everything else is also very personal. You're a unique individual with unique abilities, pluses and minuses, and this technology works through your life. But if you're not empowering what you're doing in life, you will fail. On the other hand, if you think that this is, and you want to buy the lies and think that this is going to do all sorts of high-level work for you that is comic book or Hollywood-based, as I like to call it, but the magic lamp technology doesn't work. You're not going to pop something up in front of you. Now, we think that this may be possible in the future, creating a replicator. But the whole idea is that's not important. You don't have to change lead into gold. You just need to generate the money to buy the gold. And these kind of units help to do that. But where does the money come from? And all of these things. This is all part of the art of manifesting, which I teach and which you need to understand. So those of you who are not educated, don't have the courses, haven't taken the great path, aren't using our products, you are not going to make it. If you're using other people's junk, you may be using stuff that is actually killing you. If you have anything that is orgone-based, it's killing you. We have a long list of dead people that are using orgone, and particularly orgonite. This is a very, very sad and dangerous situation. Don't fall into it. Don't get caught up using old junk produced by bad people. Get the best. Work with these energies, change your life, and then get to the point where you can escape this realm, which is what you need to do. So you're going to need to ascend out of this realm. And of course, this technology and the courses I teach will teach you how to ascend out of this realm. And by the way, people, it isn't complicated and it isn't difficult in terms of having to do all sorts of practices and rituals. This is not needed. What is needed is that the next realm out of this one is not a place where they're going to let in the stupid, the lazy, those people who have not supported the good people, those people who have used dangerous tech. Because if you've been using orgonite, your entire soul is polluted now. Your entire body is polluted. You're not going to be allowed to ascend. That's one of the major problems with these things as well. Nobody's going to take on infected, crazy mental cases into the next reality. Why would we want to take people into the higher realms that are thinking the same way they thought when they were here? You need to change your thinking, change your energetics, and then do simple processes, and you will be able to ascend out of this reality. And it has nothing to do with extraterrestrials doing all these things, a whole bunch of this and that. This is nonsense. People complicate issues and say that. People that say they're in contact with extraterrestrials in this area in particular are dangerous people. Stay away from them. This has nothing to do with it, and extraterrestrials do not control ascension, regardless of their probable high technology. But it doesn't mean you're good people or that they have good intentions. So all of this, of course, is covered in my Great Path course as well. So it's highly recommended that you do that. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you support us on Patreon. The whole new future is coming out. 2025 is the start of massive changes in every aspect of our lives. And these will be good changes, but there's going to be a bumpy road ahead. And those that have the manifesting tech and understand manifesting technologies will survive and prosper above all others. Until next time.